Hey everybody, this is our next lecture on Nixon, Ford, and Carter. And I like to call this era the era of when we lost a lot of credibility. So our last lecture was all about the 1960s, which was a very stormy time. And the presidents were JFK and LBJ. Both of those presidents were attempting to do quite a bit of reforms. However, some of those reforms were not as successful as others. And also, we kind of escalate the war effort in Vietnam, which is going to create a lot of problems and grow support for the anti-war movement. So the presidents following after those JFK and LBJ have to deal with all that. They have to deal with all the fallout from these issues. So when we talk about loss of credibility for these presidents, these are the topics we're going to cover. We want to learn about the anti-war movement and its effects. We want to talk about civil rights successes in this time. Did that continue to go forward, and how did it? Corruption, which occurs also during this time, that leads to a loss of credibility. We want to talk about trying to get our credibility back at around the world. And we want to talk about how successful we were at that. We're going to talk about some of those failures. And finally, we'll talk about the loss of respect at this time that occurs. So basically, this lecture is divided up into, attempting to establish respect and credibility at home over here. These are home issues, and these are around the world. So let's get started. All right, so the anti-war movement is becoming very popular. It is gaining strength because of the escalation of the war in Vietnam. We have more young men being drafted. We have more young men being killed. We have people who just don't agree with the war. It's become a very long war. We've already been there started in 1955. We're right here in 1968. My goodness, we've been there for, 12, 13 years, and we still don't see an end to it. So one of the events that happens as part of the anti-war movement was Woodstock, the great celebration of love, music, and peace. And very popular, very wonderful celebration in which a lot of people just come together and have a good time, basically trying to, show that people can get along and that we don't have to, go to war to be able to solve our problems, basically. In the face of having to be criticized about the war effort, Nixon makes something called the silent majority speech. And what he basically says is there are a lot of people who agree with me about the war, they just won't speak up. Well, just after that, there is a war protest that basically ends the anti-war movement in essence. This happens at Kent State University. At Kent State University, the National Guard was called out for a protest that was occurring, and shots were fired by the National Guardsmen. People were killed, several injured, and the tragedy of this event, and this is the photograph that many people identify with the Kent State University event. This photograph signifies the feelings of people, the shock of people at this act, and as I said, this will basically, it will show just the horrors of the war movement and the war and what it's doing to our nation. The 26th Amendment will be passed during this time, which will allow people to vote from the age of 18 forward. This will kind of change the landscape for the war effort because it will allow men who are of draft age to basically vote against presidents who are pro-war. And then finally, we will get a War Powers Act that will be passed, which will limit the president's power to make war. It doesn't go as far as many of us would like for it to go, but it does require that the president report any movement of troops within 48 hours to the Congress. Civil rights successes sort of continue to go forward. We don't have a full success, but we do continue to have some successes. Griggs versus Duke Power. I'm having a little trouble recalling that particular case, so let's look it up here. Griggs versus Duke Power. I always think it's a good idea for me to show you that I have to look things up too. This is all about discrimination against employees in violation of Title VII. And so this is all about making sure that African Americans don't have discrimination in their jobs. Also, we have the EPA and the Clean Air Act and the Occupational Health and Safety Administrations were formed during this time to clean up our environment, make sure our air is clean, and to help us have safe working conditions. Title IX is a piece of legislation, or it's a set of laws that have to do with many things: sexual harassment, also equality in for young women in sports. So it is a wide-ranging set of legislation. Roe versus Wade is the Supreme Court case which will make choice in pregnancy legal. There is an attempt for an equal rights amendment, excuse me, for women to have equal pay and equal rights in the United States. Unfortunately, the Equal Rights Amendment will fail. But the Supreme Court at this time, in this period of history, is very civil rights oriented, and this is because of Thurgood Marshall's court. He is the Supreme Court justice who promoted lots and lots of equal rights legislation, lots of civil rights legislation, and one of those two more court cases that were significant were Milliken versus Bradley, U.S. versus Wheeler. U.S. versus Wheeler will once again confirm the rights of Native Americans to rule themselves on their own tribal lands. And Milliken versus Bradley, once again, having a little trouble with that one. All these Supreme Court cases are difficult to keep up with sometimes. Milliken versus Bradley is all about segregation in school. And so, once again, we're trying to do everything that we can to promote desegregation and to promote equality in education. So lots and lots of civil rights successes going forward. This particular graphic goes with Silent Spring and is all about environmental issues and the rising temperatures that we are concerned about going forward. And so the concerns about the environment were a big part of this era of history. And so you can see that through the legislation. Unfortunately, because of the war effort and the continued attempts of the U.S. government to win the war in Vietnam, we're going to have a little bit of corruption that's going to go with that, because the government's going to begin to kind of hide what it's doing there. And so the Pentagon Papers were a set of documents which basically proved that the administration was lying about the war in Vietnam, that deaths were more than reported, that in the Gulf of Tonkin, the ship was actually not attacked, and also that there were secret bombing campaigns that were going on in Cambodia, not in Vietnam, that we were actually expanding the war. As Nixon tried, and his members of his administration tried to hide this information and to attempt to refuse to give documents over to the lawyers to investigate whether the war was actually being expanded and whether American people were being lied to. This resulted in an impeachment inquiry and known as Watergate, in which Nixon resigned before he could be impeached. So, as far as attempting to reestablish our credibility at home, we do have some successes as far as civil rights, but for the most part, with the issues with the Vietnam War, we proved to the world that we did have some credibility issues. So, we get on the task of trying to reestablish that credibility. So Nixon, before he was impeached, tried the doctrine of Vietnamization. And so this was presented to the U.S. public, said, okay, we're going to turn the war over to Vietnam, to the Vietnamese. We're not going to be involved in this as much as we were. We're going to slowly pull away. And then we found out that actually there was a secret bombing campaign, that we were actually expanding the war. And that's what ultimately led to the investigation into the Nixon administration's war policy. But the doctrine of Vietnamization goes forward. We do continue to kind of pull away, and we will finally end the war in Vietnam. During Ford's administration, the last troops will leave. We don't win, we just leave. Also during Nixon administration, we will open up talks with China, and this is basically to open up markets for trade. President Jimmy Carter will begin to attempt to limit ballistic missiles, and strategic arms talks will begin with the USSR. Some of these will be successful during the Nixon administration. They will also occur. However, during Carter's administration, we will attempt a second round of SALT treaties, strategic arms limitation treaties, and they will not be successful. But during the Nixon administration, they are somewhat successful. President Carter will also return the Panama Canal to the Panamanians. We made an agreement with them that we would only hold it for a certain number of years. It will be returned to them in, I believe it was 1999. We actually returned it to them, gave them the control over the canal. Some people didn't agree with that, thought it wasn't a good idea to let go of the canal. He also attempted to establish peace in the Middle East with these two gentlemen. One of these gentlemen is leader of Egypt. This is leader of Israel, and Jimmy Carter here, our president, is trying to promote peace between them. One of these gentlemen will be assassinated pretty quickly once he returns home, just for shaking the hand of this man and even participating in this. And then we have the Helsinki Accords, which occur, I'm going to look these up very quickly. Helsinki Accords, so we can make sure that we get the Helsinki Accords. The U.S. adopted these during the Ford administration, and this was to reduce tension between the Soviet and other countries in the Western Bloc, like in Europe and the United States, and we're basically trying to establish peace between the U.S., the USSR, and other nations. So, you can see that peace effort trying to go forward. And so it's kind of a mixed bag of success here. Failures abroad. Oh my goodness. Because of this attempt to get involved in the Middle East, some of the Middle Eastern nations are not happy. They don't believe we have any right to be doing that. And so some of these nations influence the oil producing companies to declare an oil embargo against us. We respond by trying to conserve oil by reducing the speed limit to 55 miles an hour, which doesn't really do a whole lot, but it's all we can do. As we said before, Vietnam will fall to the communists and we will leave. The SALT II talks during Carter's administrations will fail, and then the USSR will invade Afghanistan, and we will see ourselves as really, once again, unable to really control the spread of communism. And so in this photo, you see these evacuations that are going on. This was at the end of the Vietnam conflict, when people were just trying to get out of Saigon onto a helicopter. Loss of respect around the world. As we have the Watergate incident, as we have all these war protests and all of these incidents going on, we tend to lose a little bit of respect. Our economy begins to suffer due to the expense of the war. Nixon will take us off the gold standard, which some people thought was a very bad idea because it kind of destabilizes our currency. Later on, President Ford, once he takes over, once Nixon resigns, he will pardon Richard Nixon, and a lot of people thought that was showing a lack of respect for the people of our nation, to pardon him from the crimes that he committed. During the oil embargo, President Jimmy Carter gave something called the Malaise speech, in which he basically told people to stop complaining, make sacrifices, and get on with it. A lot of people didn't respond well to that because they wanted to feel like the United States was powerful, that we could control our own oil, that we weren't going to be subject and pushed around by a lot of small nations around the world. One of the things that occurs due to the bad feelings between the Middle East and the United States is that in Iran we had gotten involved in the political situation in 1955, and we had set up a government. And in the 1970s, there was a revolution in Iran where our chosen leader that we had set up was thrown out of power, and a new person came to power, the Shah of Iran. And there were young people who formed an organization in which they wanted to basically get people out of their nation that they thought were threats. And so they went to the U.S. Embassy, they stormed the embassy, and they took hostages of any of the people working in the U.S. Embassy, and this is a picture of them. These hostages were held for 444 days. We tried to rescue them. We failed at that. And so it made us look terribly weak. And also during this time, we have an economic situation called stagflation, in which we have high inflation, and high unemployment. So things are just really going terribly wrong for us, and this is the era we talk about where we lose